following content is rated MA negative. Viewing this content could be harmful to your mental health. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The VOT Network presents the Voices of Terminus Show with your hosts, Yarnilla, Lexer, and Joshua.
Like in Hearthstone, when you slap down a really big card, just do that with over me.
Lex just basically interrupts the show. It doesn't matter, Lex. Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show. I'm joined by Lex. Say hello.
Shut up, I'm eating.
Then we have Mica with us. Say hello, Mica.
Hello.
And we have Booch with us. Say hello.
Howdy, folks.
And in the background, we have the ever so annoying Shy. Say hello, Shy.
I love you too, baby. Hi, everybody. Bye.
So, Josh is not with us today. He had to take care of some real life commitments. But we mentioned we have a big announcement to make.
I'm getting breast implants.
It's a sad one, but it's also a happy one. So, Lex is going to be stepping down from the VOT show as of our 4th year. Well, basically, he'll be here till our 4th year show, and then he'll basically be stepping down. He has to basically commit to other endeavors, so he will be stepping down. But Lexa came prepared when he reached out to me, and he brought us this wonderful person, Mica, who will be joining us. And as you can see, we already have started some redesign of how our show is going to basically evolve, and that's what Mica's been doing for me.
You mean level up?
We're leveling up, exactly. We're basically, so come the 4th year show, we should hopefully have most of it done. If not everything done, so that we basically launch into the new era of looking a lot more professional, a lot more slick and tidy. And Booch will also be joining us whenever he can, in regular capacity. Today was normally meant to be planned to sit down with Booch actually and do a player Q&A with him, but after seeing the stream from VR, we had to talk about it. We had to sit down and talk about it. But Lex, is that you typing, or who's typing?
No, I'm eating.
There's a loud keyboard. But we will be sitting down with Booch at a later date for sure to interview him and introduce him to the community and talk about Pantheon with him. But we're going to talk about Pantheon today with him in a different form. We're going to look at the stream. But Lex, you want to say anything before we go, and Mica as well?
Well, first I will say I will cosplay when I'm dead, because that's how I see paladins. But the whole stepping down thing, a lot of people out there know that I'm on staff for Defend the Night, and I've been taking a much more active role with that now, and that plus some of my personal projects are getting a lot of exposure lately, and my time is becoming very limited. But I don't feel bad or anything, because Mica was my first choice for replacement, and I was lucky enough to get him on the hook and be like, "Yo, gotcha, bitch." But I feel good knowing that Mica is going to be taking my spot, and the show is going to be in good hands.
As she said.
And I promise to keep up the paladin bashing for you.
Yeah! Man!
So anyway, welcome Booch, and Booch actually brought notes, so He'll be bringing
I'm loaded. I'm loaded with info.
He's loaded with info.
Don't you know anything, Booch? You don't bring notes to a VOT show.
The only thing I like talking about more than Pantheon is when me and Lex talk about how to hide a corpse.
That's right. Well, I wrote that book.
So I've got the video up and running. So VR basically showed or did a similar review to the making of Thronefast. About a year ago, they did the video about the making of Thronefast, showing off some grey boxing and how basically Thronefast kind of was designed and everything. But with this one, with Project Faethale, they actually went a little deeper and had a lot more to show. Obviously, Project Faethale being their reference zone for them going forward for when they're going to present the game to general audiences in conventions, and obviously to draw in attraction and investors, etc. So they've been doing a lot of work on Project Faethale, and at the moment we currently have some concept arts that were drawn up on the screen right now for what they were kind of aiming for. And if we look at the game footage that's now basically come up of Cohh just basically switched there, so here we are, and this is basically Faethale. And I was immediately blown away. And I'm going to pause right here, right now, so we can talk a little bit about this. So, Booch, we'll start with you. What was your first, your first reaction after seeing the first footage of, players in the world and running around and seeing some pretty much finished design work?
I mean, to me, it looks fantastic, even compared to the last stream where they were showing gameplay from that Velks Lab 2.0 they were in, where, I mean, the bottom line is, look, we're not even in this game for the graphics, right? Can we all agree? I mean, that's not even the draw of this game, and these graphics look pretty damn good. I don't know if it's just because the lighting is better, but even the armor models on the gear they're wearing looks better. Everything, it's just amazing. Like, you can tell they're putting a lot of work and a lot of detail into what they're doing.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Mica, what was your first initial reaction after watching it and seeing, seeing the footage at first glance?
I was really impressed, especially with the team, because we have this team that's not very. We know they have a good history. We know they could do well, but they're not a large team. And I think this game's looking a lot better than some of the big production games. You could tell they're really taking care of it. Yeah, I was immediately. I'm like, I want to go there. Immediately. So
that's not obvious. You being an elf.
Nope. And that's why I was just like, home. It's my home, and I like it.
What about you, Lex? So you obviously caught the stream, and what did you first think?
Well, first off, I'm going to say that these are the kind of streams that we've been begging for like the last year and a half. They hit it out of the park. They went from far left field to far right field, covered almost everything that you could possibly ask for. We saw improvements, we saw new stuff, we saw alterations, you name it, we saw it.
Yeah.
The first thing that struck me when I saw the zone itself was you compare it to the concept art and they nailed it.
Yep.
Like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You see the plant life that they had done conceptual art for, and you can see those plants in there. You look at when you see the bigger scene with the tree and all that. You look at that picture and you see it in game, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, we'll
there's
let
been
the footage run a bit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cases where the concept art is nowhere near what it is in game, and there's usually a good reason for it. Sometimes there isn't. But no, this time it was a great concept piece, and they went ahead and just turned it into a great in-game piece.
Yeah, so I've basically paused it again, where they're going through that that tight passage, And if you look at the level of detail on the, I think it's a rock or a tree. I'm not quite sure. I think it's a tree.
It's a tree, I think. Yeah.
A tree. If you look at the level of detail on that tree, it's just mind blowing. You know, to see this kind of love and passion towards it. I mean, when they were walking up there or going up towards that passage, you had the little fog on the ground as well. That was kind of like, you know, there, and it's absolutely amazing what they've pulled off in all this time. And like you mentioned, Lex, they are actually physically, you know, if you compare this to the concept art, it's nailed down to the bone.
Yeah, it's dead on.
Yeah, but another interesting thing that basically, you know, jumped at me straight away was the UI.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple UI. It's not overcrowded. There's no overkill. You've got a small menu at the top. You know, it's perfect. You've got your character windows, your offensive and defensive target there. You've got a chat box. Cohh's got a few more, but you know, you can turn those on and off and move those around. It's very neat and tidy. It gives you room to concentrate on what's in front of you, what's on the screen, rather than what's going on around you with your UI.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of minimalist UIs and such, but minimalist isn't always clean, because a lot of people will take a minimal approach and still try to jam pack it full of info, which is commendable, don't get me wrong. But with Pantheon here, we do have a ton of information, and it is clean. It is, you know, not in your face, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I couldn't make a UI to save my life, but I don't think anyone could have done better, at least for me and my preferences.
Yeah, sometimes too they just over design something. They put all this unnecessary stuff in there, and it just to kind of make it look flashy, and it just takes up so much room on your screen, and you're just like,
and that's actually a very easy pitfall to run into as a developer, because something like a UI on an MMO, it's very important. So it's nice to see that while VR knows that something like this is incredibly important, they're not going to go overboard.
Yeah.
You know what was going through my mind when I was watching it also is, if they put this much time and effort and detail into the graphic part of the game, can you imagine how much detail they're going to put into the questing part, which is what the allure of the game is to all of us in the first, you know what I'm saying? And I can only imagine, because this realistically would be the weak side of the game, right? Because it's the least important to most people, at least of the features of the game. So if they're putting this much effort into this, I just can't wait to see what the questing system is like.
Yeah, it's basically, they are definitely doing, Brad justice in creating his vision of worlds. And carrying on that torch for him of actually bringing that to life, what he wanted to do. He wanted to create worlds rather than games. Obviously, yes, it's a game, but he wanted to make it so that it feels like it's living and breathing. And when you're in there, when you're exploring the virtual world that these developers have created, you feel like you're actually a part of it. You feel like you're right smack in the middle. You're melted with your character. Basically, everything in your real life basically just goes away, and you're in this game. You're so focused in this game, exploring, running around, looking at everything. You're in awe, So they've definitely, put that right. They basically nailed that from the get go. And to quickly go back on what you said earlier on, though, Lex, saying that this is something we've been asking for a long time, and these are the kind of things that we want to see. VR still not let anybody down, though. With every stream that they've put out there, they've always raised the bar, and yet again.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're still doing a great job, And it's just nice to see that they're improving. They're not just going to stick with whatever format they're comfortable with, and that's what you see for the next X years or months or whatever, how long we got to wait. You know, they're going to evolve based upon the content that they want to show us. This is just something that I've felt the community's needed for a very long time.
Yeah. So currently on the screen we have, some of the original design work, how it kind of like started out, and how it, evolved. They were talking about that, and also to note and mention, when they first started out building Pantheon and designing the game, they used a lot of store assets. But this whole entire area that we're seeing, Faethale, is actually in-house built. There's nothing they've used from a store asset or anything like that. It's actually all built. And the interesting thing that they mentioned was basically just by changing the colors and the lighting and the trim of certain elements, the amount of reusability that they have with all these assets is almost endless basically, and that's really interesting to hear that, because they can get a lot of use out of what they've already done here with Faethale, and use that elsewhere, and just add some minimal changes to make it look completely the opposite and different. And I think that's going to help them move forward, and especially when it comes to doing add-ons and bringing in additional ideas and concepts, it's going to help them. So here we see, I think that's the concept art, right? On the screen. It's hard to tell. No, that was the game. Sorry. It's hard to tell.
That's when you know you did a good job. With your modelers and everything.
This. So here's a picture of that fallen giant piece of old wood. Fallen giant of old wood.
Oh, I gotta say this right now because it's been bugging the what's the word I'm looking for? The
bejesus?
The immature part of my brain.
Oh.
They're in a place called Oldwood, and the first perception that Cohh gets is, should I touch it?
I know it.
I died.
I was waiting for someone to say that's what she said.
I was like, oh my god.
Michael J. Scott.
Alright, so if we look at that concept art, and we'll see that tree basically in a few moments. So actually, here's another screenshot of in-game footage and concept art. This is actually a perfect image to look at. It's amazing how close and how detailed the concept art is to, or the game itself, the finished product itself is to the concept art.
And the lighting in the game is actually better.
Oh yeah,
if you look at the shading and the lighting of the game compared to the concept art, the shading and the lighting of the game is actually better than the concept art, in my opinion.
Well, that's just because it's going to be more unified.
Right? Yeah, because it's exactly.
And also the game itself is the world is more lush. And usually the concept art, it has a lot more life to it, but
more 3D feel.
The game actually has more life.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, they took the concept art, and we all know concept art can, it's always nice to look at, and sometimes it's very colourful, and it's designed in a comical style, and this, that, and the other. In a lot of cases, most companies don't manage to even get close to the concept art. Or it's referenced completely different. It's designed completely differently when it goes into the game. They give you some concept art, and then they bring it into the game, and it looks completely different. It's a hint of what they were trying to achieve. These guys actually overachieved, in my opinion. They've actually overachieved. They managed to take the concept art in its beauty and turn it into something that feels and looks real.
And it kind of gives you the idea of what they've been doing. I mean, they keep saying it's coming, just be patient, and people get so fussy about it. But if this is what we're waiting on, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this next screen.
I'm gonna also admit to something here. I was very worried about that last stream with the Faethale reveal, because so much has been riding on this zone that it was either going to be really, really great for Pantheon, or it was going to be really, really bad. I'm very happy that it turned out to be very good. Because if it turned out that this zone was a joke, just poorly done and everything, it would have destroyed Pantheon right then and there.
Yeah, you would have people jumping ship. Absolutely.
It would have went from, I'm not saying it's going to be a massive title, but it went from being a fairly large title, or it would have gone from being a very large title to back down to a little niche game where it's like, if they have 2 servers, it'll be amazing. But now, this is going to make it explode, I think.
But that's the thing, though, as well. That's the perception of us human beings. We're always good to run our mouths and talk smack and especially when you have these different factions of gamers out there. Everybody has their love and their idea of what the perfect game is, and even within the Pantheon community, people have a lot of different conceptions to what challenge means, to what old school means. Like with the last video that Basgan put out there, I think was a great video to put out and was actually needed to kind of touch on, what they actually mean by that. And what why people that are thinking that Pantheon should be an EverQuest clone and EverQuest 2.0 and this, that and the other, why they are so wrong at the end of the day, and why even though they're going for that old school look and feel of challenge, and you get thrown in there and off you go, find your way and make your own journey. It is a 2020 MMO, period. But this screenshot here is, or not screenshot, but this, or it is a screenshot, it's a photo from the one of the developers who basically, was in charge of all of this. Is actually, you see on the left the in-game grab of him working on foliage, this, that, and the other. And then you see the concept art on the monitors, and how it's all kind of like working its way through. So at the bottom screen on the right, you've got the original, placing down of elements, and then you've got the concept art at the top, and on the left you've got the actual world itself. When you look at that picture, it actually looks like something out of real life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I'm gonna admit it, there is some worry for me. Right, with don't get me wrong, I'm the one who's preached all this. I'm from the get-go, from day one, I've always preached all the little things you can put in there. The more detail you can put in there, the better it's going to be. It's the little things that count. Yes, I've preached that, and I will always say that, and I still stick to that. My worry is, though, with the level of detail that they've gone, is will the computer systems of today and tomorrow and of yesterday be able to manage this type of detail, this quality? Because you look at it now that he's running around, you can see like it almost looks like dust is going up, and you see all the flowers moving and this, that, and the other. You kind of feel the wind. So maybe Lex, you being a tech guy, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking this now after seeing this. With the level of detail that they've gone, how are they going to manage, the vast majority of computer systems that are out there? Because they did say Pantheon isn't going to be designed for PCs of tomorrow. It's going to be designed for anybody really to play it that's got a fairly decent PC of, I don't know, let's go and say 5 years old from today.
Well, I mean, that is a good point, because MMOs are designed for large player bases.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a single-player game where if they sell 4,000 units or something, or 10,000 units, it's great, golden, done. They've made their money back. With MMOs, they're looking at hundreds of thousands, or millions is what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily on one server, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So
you have to appeal to a larger range of specs. This does mean usually not going to the ultra photorealistic kind of graphics, but even when you do tend to push the graphics in an MMO, provided you give people enough options in your settings, like actual setting options, you can appeal to a lot wider audience, just because you turn off the right things, and suddenly you have a lot more frames, and it's playable. You know, I remember playing EverQuest 2 when it first came out, and not even the high-end PCs could play it, as if you had cloth simulation checked. You know, but you turn that off, you turn some of the textures down, you turn the shadows off, and suddenly, you know, you're running at, 50 frames a second, which, I mean, it's not 60, but it's still playable.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to giving the right options to appeal to high-end and low-end systems.
There were a few people in the original stream that did comment that exact same thing. I saw a few people say, "Oh, this looks like a game. Is this a game I'm gonna have to buy a new PC for?" And they actually addressed it in the chat. If you rewatch the stream, I noticed people did ask that, because it's a reasonable concern. It is.
It's a completely valid concern, especially in this day and age where it's getting harder and harder for your average Joe to drop $700+ on a new rig just because he's excited about a game.
Yeah.
I mean, the PC I'm on now is starting to starting to show its age.
Yeah, yours is just starting.
Just starting. I built it 6 years ago.
Years now.
I built it 6 years ago, but I built it to be a 10-year rig, meaning I should not need any major upgrades for 7 to 10 years. And like I said, I'm just getting to the point now where maybe in a year or two I have to think about starting to do an upgrade or two.
Yeah.
That's it. And from our experience doing the community playthrough, I mean, let's face it, it was unoptimized because it's too early to optimize at that point. It was during a PA testing, so there was tons of players. We all ran fine. Yeah. And I think I had one of the upper end systems there. I think you had one of the lower end systems. You ran fine, besides the fact that OBS was going nuts on you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I'm really not worried about system requirements, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as we don't have another Final Fantasy XIV version 1 fiasco, where you had to buy a new computer, and even then it killed your graphics card.
Yeah.
Because
it's pretty bad when it's like, you need a new computer just so you can load the launcher.
I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong with me bringing this up. I am all for the Flash, right? Everybody knows that. I am absolutely in love with the way the game is looking. I like how the elements, some of the elements are moving. Like when if I carry on playing this now, he's doing some perception here. The outer box, that purple bluish shadow is moving. I love that kind of stuff. I love the way
it's not moving enough where it goes crazy on you, though.
I know, but it's not moving exactly. But I love the way that the leaves are moving and the bushes and the sunlight's bouncing off of you and all this and that. And it's I love that kind of stuff. It's just one of those things where you see it and then you think, well, this is now on a testing server, this, that, and the other. How is this going to look in the grander scale of things? When you have hundreds, thousands, 10,000, hundreds of thousands of people, playing this game, logging into it.
And those out there that are kind of wanting to know like minimum specs. Given the day and age, it's pretty easy to figure a lot of that stuff out. Yeah. I mean, obviously, 4+ gigs of RAM. Pretty much a given these days. Probably a quad core.
I think that's even outdated now.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, because Windows 10 is probably like, oh, you got 4 gigs RAM, I use it all. But it's easy to say 4+ gigs of RAM, quad core, obviously, probably something that's in the realm of 3.0 or higher gigahertz. Graphics card's the only spot where you're going to run into, iffy statements here, but if you're at a GTX 900 series, you're probably fine. I mean, obviously you're going to get to a point where you got to turn some things off, like motion blur or depth of field, stuff like that, But you're still going to run fine.
Yeah.
If you're running at this point, if you're running like a 700, like a GTX 700 series or something like that, that looks like it, you should probably think about upgrading, but not just because of Pantheon.
Yeah, that's your bottleneck in anything you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yep. So on the screen we've got basically the perception system that they revealed a few months ago. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. They showed off, how the perception system is looking and coming forward. So what's your guys' take on it? Our interaction with the perception system, actually seeing it now in game for the first time, and so yeah, we'll start with you, Booch.
Well, I'm all for it. I'm a big proponent of this system. I think it's a really cool system that they're putting in here, and I think not the last stream, the stream before that, when they showcased it with Cohh Carnage there.
Mm.
I was commenting. I was saying it would be cool if, rather than just giving you a bit of information, that they asked you a question and gave you an option. And that looks like that's what they're doing here. Where should I touch it?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
and it looks like they're gonna kind of implement it into a like Joppa was mentioning in the stream. They're going to have that tied right into a linear storyline, but it's not going to be completely linear because it's all going to depend on what you've done previously to this specific perception that you've just gotten.
Yeah.
So no two experiences will be the same, which is I think that's trick. The devil's in the details. That's really a great.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to branch off a lot. But you do have to offer some kind of variation, simply because let's face it, people make alts. You get bored on your main because you've more or less seen it all, done it all, and you're just waiting for raids now. So you make an alt, or maybe it's just your thing.
Yeah, that's dangerous for altaholics.
I just hope though that the way they've designed it, or the plan that they're taking is. I mean, I think they did say that though as well when they showed it off, and how the perception system in the back end works. That even when you're going through what Cohh's now doing, clicking through the storyline there, and there's like multiple choices. I hope that like midway, the choice you take there starts to lead you on a deviated path, and I think that's something that Joppa, or whoever it was, mentioned in that one stream where they showed it off. That even when you're going through it, it's not at the end where you make a choice and now your path is set up, either way. You can actually have that happen as you're going through this dialogue where there's multiple choices for you to click, so it leads you on another destined path. And again, what I love about this is, the fear that VR have always had, the replayability, and this is why the progeny system is something that is always on their table, always on their mind. But I have to ask why, because with systems like this in play, you're going to make me want to play again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And with the world looking how it is now, and the design philosophy behind it, you're going to make me want to explore and forget about leveling up to max level and being up there in the forefront. I just want to explore the beauty of the game and take as much time to spend as much time as I possibly can inside this one area or this zone or this game itself, like for endless hours just looking around, because the deepness of detail is key. And I think the progeny system is something that's going to evade, hopefully, something that we're not going to talk about anymore in the sense we're talking about it now, of how do we reward players who put time into the game and go through the replayability. It should be something that's going to happen automatically, and the progeny system itself should evolve into something completely different.
I hate to say it, but I've always been an advocate of the just don't do the progeny system.
Huh?
I've always been an advocate of just don't do the progeny system. No, there's not a single part of it that's appealing to me.
Booch?
Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts?
Well, I think the progeny system, I think you definitely need some form of incentive.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is if you're giving someone some slight advantage, then you get people complaining that Joe, John Q. Public next door's got a little bit of an advantage in his next tune. You know what I'm saying? but I personally, I think that's a good idea. Okay, you run through the game with your main, whatever class it may be, and then okay, I want to make an alt and I want to use this progeny system.
Mm-hmm.
So the reward is this new tune. You have this side ability that you would not get if you didn't make this second tune with a progeny system.
Go on, Mike. Mikey, you want to jump in here, or?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, this is kind of like in ESO, they have those, I can't remember what they're called, but after you hit level cap, you start earning those points. And then when you create a alt, you still have access to all those points from the get-go. And the little bit I played ESO, that's never really seemed to be a problem with other players.
After just sitting down here, I just had a ding, a light bulb moment.
Did it hurt?
We've already talked about the progeny system in detail and ways to reward people. We're taking examples from EverQuest 2, from EverQuest this, that, and the other, with some of the items that you can get that give you some this, that, and the other. But what about taking it? Because it's about rewarding people who actually put in the time and effort to do certain things in the game, help people, this, that, and the other. Well, why not give rewards out? Like, for instance, you could have like a progeny leveling system. And the more time you spend in the game, the more time you help people, this, that, and the other. You can have like a ranking system, a point system of sorts. You can get additional character slots for your account. You can actually earn yourself like, a 50% discount on a monthly sub or something like that. Things like that aren't technically related to the game itself, by giving you some kind of bonus to take over to your next character and everything. Because, this is going to happen anyway. That people are going to, farm mats and, farm names and gather all these goody two-shoes stuff, items and everything to make the coolest gear and pass it down onto their own. It's going to happen. It's what people do. After you spent so many years in the game, the ins and out of it. So, instead of trying to reward them even more by, hey, if you create an alt, you can do this, that, and that, and that to this alt, and make him super, make him a little bit stronger than a normal alt. Think about things outside of the game, how you can reward people. Maybe that's the way to go about it.
I think they have something in mind, definitely, because if they didn't, they're giving you a little teaser. But why would they create the system that's basically just creating an alt if there wasn't some hook? You know what I'm saying? There has to be something we're not seeing, and they probably have something pretty cool in mind if it goes along the lines of what they've done so far.
So apart from us sidetracking here, let's move back on. So I paused this screen because this is one of the things that I just went, whoa, that looks so freaking awesome. So we see the Spriggan, if you look closer, you see the Spriggan in the center of the screen, kind of earth into the earthly elements and the tree itself. And I thought, wow, that looks absolutely phenomenal. And the way the Spriggan look is just insane. So we'll let Cohh basically look around here. And you can, just look at the grass or the earth itself, the way it looks, the different variations of plants and leaves and everything moving around. It feels alive.
You want one thing I noticed?
What's that?
Everybody's seen this, but I was looking in the background and those mountains in the back behind the Spriggan. To me, that was kind of like a nod to old side-scroller. The old side-scroller RPG games, because just the way it looks like that, where it looks like pillars set against each other. That's very like an old, like
those old hex-based, almost
like Super Nintendo Nintendo games. They had those backgrounds. It kind of seems like a nod to that, but they're done really beautifully.
Yeah, it could very well be. You never know.
Yeah, I noticed that immediately, and it just kind of like threw me back to being 10 years old at my Super Nintendo playing.
well, you do know that climbing is a thing, so maybe you can actually climb up those pillars. Who knows?
Yeah. Spider elf.
Oh God!
So, Mike, we're gonna have to make you sing that out fully, and then we're gonna have to have it put onto the show at some point.
Yeah, you don't want me singing that out fully.
We need a soundbite. I need it on my phone whenever someone calls me.
So, I mean, go on.
No, you can go.
So, Booch, what other notes
Yes,
have you made, and what other observations have you made? So, do you need me to jump somewhere forward or back?
No, we can. I mean, you're on the Spriggan now. I'm thinking. I think Joppa mentioned something to do with hero pieces, and I'm thinking forward. How involved are these Spriggans going to be in the lore of the game, the overall lore of the game, but also if they're creating this type of NPC in this one specific zone, that would lead me to believe that there's going to be a similar type of an NPC in all these areas. Like you'll have a Scar version of a Spriggan or whatever. They're going to have something there. Ogres and humans, and there's going to be, I'm guessing, because the way they described it, the Spriggan and that sight stone, it's all going to be like intertwined in the progression or the keying almost of how you start a quest line. So I'm guessing there's going to be something like this in every area, every large area.
We kind of talked about that,
exactly
a couple of days ago off air about how involved they're going to be, and it's I kind of tried to explain, like, basically we know the Spriggan are really, really old, and they're kind of like, the balance of good and evil kind of thing, dark and light, and they're ancient, and they're the grandfathers, grandmothers, whatever you want to call it, of the world. And I'm kind of hoping that while they're going to be very important to the lore story, the baseline and everything, that it's kind of going to be a mixed characteristic for the game itself going forward. So they might play a very important role within Faethale, and with the baseline of the common lore. But as you progress further, they might be a side feature, be minimally important to the game, but at a later time jump back in. That's the kind of thing that I've been missing from games, is they create all these elements of lore and creatures and things that we all hear about and read about, and then they bring them into the game, and then they don't do anything with it going forward. It just, it's something that's there, and now, it's done. There's nothing more to add to it.
Well, I think.
Go on.
I was going to say, I think the thing they also have going for them is the way they set up the overall lore of the entire planet of all of Terminus. They set it up with several branches going out. So in addition to the Spriggans, I'm sure, like for example, the dwarves are going to have some form of an NPC like a Spriggan that's going to serve the same type of purpose, but it's going to be in an icy tundra or something. And the way they develop the lore. The whole story's going to eventually come together, because they kind of allude to that, with the keepings of Castigues there, where he's trying to figure out the dragon language and all that. I mean, the whole thing it just leads to so many possibilities.
Yep.
And that's why I think they did that genius. That was really good the way they did it.
Definitely is, yeah. I mean, it's also, the longevity of the game and the longevity of the storyline, advancing that and everything. I mean, we don't know how far detailed or how far in they are with their lore, how far along it is, even for the future and everything. I just hope that for the longevity of it all, that they always, that they're always constantly thinking of, moving these kind of elements forward as well, and not just concentrating on what we as players do or can do and can explore, So anything that basically affects us as players also should affect the world around it, the lore around it as well. So when they bring out an expansion and we have another, 10 levels to go and level up and tons of amounts of dungeons to go and explore, things like that are part of the common world should have an effect on it, on the older zones as well. So they should always go back and try and look at what they could do now to spice it up. And imagine now, all of a sudden, because of a game update, maybe some areas now are blocked out. You can't go there anymore. You can't get this quest anymore. Or you can't access this perception system anymore. I personally think that would be absolutely brilliant to have those kind of features where certain things like that even get blocked out for people coming in later on down the road. Because that gives us as players, as a community, things to tell people. And it kind of would leapfrog VR in that genre to a new level, because that's something that's never been done before.
Like the world has an actual timeline, and the moment you play is the moment of time in that world that you're playing in.
Mm-hmm.
They've set themselves up very well for, even if you think about it, to introduce a new race.
Yeah.
They've set themselves up just with the very basic. Every race is a foreigner on the planet. So why not have one more?
I basically revealed that conspiracy already. Right? I don't know if you caught it, Booch, but anybody who's seen Predators, the new one with their...
yeah.
Right? It's no different. With
Right,
Adrian Brody. It's no different.
Yes.
Right? We were all pulled in from the Spriggan. Okay? The Spriggan basically seeked us out, kidnapped us in the middle of the night, and brought us to Terminus. From all these different planets. They caused a chaos all over our worlds and brought us here. And now, we're hunted by all kinds of beings. We're hunting each other. It's basically Predators evolved.
Right. And who knows? I mean, first world boss to be defeated. First expansion is because the first world boss was defeated. Here comes.
Oh, that would be
the blanks. Here come the blanks, or whoever.
That would actually be a pretty interesting feature to have as well, based on. Let's call them world choices or common world choices.
The Price is Right. The Price is Right of MMOs. Come on down.
No, think about it, Booch. You're onto something here, right? Imagine them having certain world events, common world events that kind of shape the future of the world itself. Now imagine if there were multiple, like the perception systems, there's multiple paths, multiple choices to make. Imagine them designing their expansions based on the amount of percentage people all over on all these servers have conquered a certain, world boss or spent some time in a certain zone. So basically, instead of just going your normal way of, designing your expansions, you actually draw data from the communities playing your game, playing on your different servers, and you kind of randomize where your expansion's gonna go.
Yeah, you could. I mean, realistically, it wouldn't be very difficult to do. You could, for example, the raid zone is a series of tunnels, dungeons, whatever you want to do. So to get through to this final boss, you have to bust through these walls or whatever. And because you did that, now you unleash this this race that is an underground race. Here they come. Now all of a sudden, now they're on the surface of the planet. And it'd be, you can make it a good race, you can make it an evil race, but it's an easy way to get, to just introduce more content,
So let's hear the left side of the field, or in this case, the right Mica. Go on.
Well, I was about to say, let's not forget, too, that they just let it slip, that the world, there's more than one world. Yeah. In that little bit with Cohh, it said the world split. So there could be they could be just hinting at a multi-dimensional sort of thing too.
Hey, we already know that there's different planets out there.
But this
you're saying with the old one where he's in a separate dimension.
Yeah, it could be like a multi-dimensional thing where you could have different layers of the same world, but just on different dimensions of it. So that could introduce so much.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we did the dev stream with Jopper. He didn't necessarily confirm, but he didn't really deny when we kind of called him out on a screenshot from Black Rose Keep. you had like the moon, you had another planet on there or something like that. So we kind of called him on that. He didn't deny or didn't confirm either, like. But you know, so they definitely got lots of room, lots and lots of room. But one thing I want to quickly bring up here on the screen as well. Another thing that VR have always pointed out is our perception for things in the distance. And they've always said that what you see, you can go there. So looking at this screenshot, you can see far, far in the distance some mountains. And there's a really high peak there. You know, I can't wait to actually climb up there, get up there, and look down at this area from that distance.
Don't worry, Aaron. You will fall from
Get thrown off.
I will see to it.
You know, and that's perfect for us elves because we can look down on everybody else in real life like we do.
No, I really am looking down on you.
So, I mean, if you look at this now, Michael, what you're talking about with the pillars, for instance, there are some little pathways that lead there and everything, and we do know there's climbing and we can basically go anywhere on the game. Now, obviously, we do have these barriers within the zones themselves because the game is built up on zones. It's not open world as we know it. But you do have these zone barriers. But you know, anything you see, that's another thing to point out as well for people, you know, who are new to Pantheon as well. We have said basically anything you see in the distance is places you can actually go. You know, there's nothing hidden, or there's no area where it's like, you know, hey, you've reached the end, and this is just a background image. The things you see, you can actually go to, and the way they've done it is actually really interesting.
What if there is a mountain behind a zone line? Because the zone lines aren't going to be blank.
Yeah, what are they going to do that? Are they going to fog it out so you can't see the mountain? Or are you just, what's up with that?
Unless you're seeing into the next zone that it's connected to.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yep.
Because if that's not the case, I'm going to zone in. The first thing everyone's going to hear over Discord is bullshit!
You know, that's the thing that they talked about, though, as well, recently, is with the zone lines and everything, you know, trying to give people that sense of open world. It's going to be very interesting to see how they actually do that, because like you said, Lex, you know, there might be a zone line where, you know, you can't proceed further at this time, or it's, you know, you see these big massive mountains, you go in there, and now it's a hill path. How did I get through that mountain? So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of do that.
See, this is what I want to see. I want to see one zone line where it looks like there's just a sheer cliff. You zone into a very small zone with a cliff like 10 feet in front of you, and with a little sign that says "Good luck." And you got to climb all the way up.
Yeah, that could be something. Maybe.
I don't know. I think I'd probably spend a good 15 minutes just laughing.
I mean, that would be cool to have, though. Have those kind of incentive elements happen where they bring in some fun into the game. They give you, like, you know, that would be perfect. That would be perfect comedy. You have a zone line, like Lexa mentioned. You see a cliff. You go through the zone line, and you've got like 2 feet in front of you. Or you go through, and if you keep on, you know, you keep your hand on the keyboard, you just carry on running, and you fall off that cliff.
When it does come to climbing, I must say, playing on Druid, I really hope that my little fox companion sits on my shoulder, like in the concept art when I'm climbing.
Maybe that's like an idle animation.
I know, but I want him to sit on my shoulder while I'm climbing. I don't want him just to appear at the top.
And then your character turns to face this way, and it clips through your pen. You're like, God, I've murdered him with my nose.
Right, so, hang on, let me go and quickly scroll back a few seconds, because I've got to ask, right? Let me go, he's buffing himself. Go on, Cohh. Buff yourself, Cohh! We'll talk about the UI a bit in a bit as well. So, I'm going to pause it right here. So we know how colourful these flowers are, right? It begs the question, because we haven't seen that yet. The night time. How do you guys imagine this place looking when it's pitch black? Do you think those flowers are going to be illuminated? Or is the zone going to be illuminated? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, the flowers look like they have luminescence to them. So I think they glow.
That's actually a hard question because we know VR is doing you need to have a light source.
Right.
Or
So it might be pitch black.
So if it's pitch black, I would hope that I want to say I want them to glow, but I don't want them to be like, you're in the field, look, it's like day.
What happened? What about, if they had they could, this is just going bonkers. This is what we do at the VOT, we just go crazy with ideas. So, and these are some ideas taken from sci-fi movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, you name it, right? We've seen it on all these worlds where plants are lit up and everything, but when you get closer, they go dark. This is something they could do as well. When you kind of moving through, you get close to those orange flowers, maybe they light up for you as a natural light source for you, kind of showing you a radius. That would be a cool feature to see. Now this is
no. It would be neat.
Go on.
If that happened, but it was only because someone was a magic user.
Mm-hmm. Or
it's almost like a magic user has ambient magic radiating from them.
Or based on your perception, how much you kind of how much knowledge you've got from this. My
perception skill is high. All I see is a comic strip in my head of an elf kneeling down at a flower, yelling at it, "Grow!" or
"Grow!" Those could be cool features, and again, it's those kind of small things that add another layer to kind of. Giving us things to do and keep us sidetracked from rushing the game. Because with all this beauty that they're putting into these worlds nowadays, it doesn't matter what kind of game you look at, they're putting so much detail into it. But a lot of people just rush through most of it just to finish that damn game. But
being an environmental artist is probably the most thankless job there is, but it's one of the most important ones for most RPGs. I mean, there are people who are placing the plants and the stones and the hills and everything. It's how many people just run by a perfectly crafted bush or something? Because you gotta appreciate a good bush.
Right.
It sets the theme for your product. It's no different to somebody that is designing, a scene for a movie, right? A 1960s gangster film. If they don't take the time to figure out how it looked back then, with the details and everything, then you're going to watch it and you're going to go, "This is the cheapest piece of shite I've ever watched in my life."
Or you see you see an extra in the background wearing a white Nike hat.
yeah, something like
1940,
that. Yeah. It's things like that.
Really, if you think about it, from an artistic perspective, to draw something. Say you wanted to draw that scene of a character, the most difficult part sometimes is the background, is the surroundings. You can draw the coolest looking guy in the world, and if you have nothing behind him, it just looks like a guy standing there in the middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? But if you add a few features, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yep. Yeah. So, on the screen, we see that oak, that old wood. From a
we get to see Jabba's old wood.
Old wood again.
We see that old wood though, and if you look at it, how close it is to the concept. Obviously, I don't know if it gets any closer to. I can't remember. It's the detail they put in there. Now, there is one thing though that I have to say, VR. Now, this is my immersion. This is my immersion kicking in. This is me pointing out that there's a floating rock. Okay, that shouldn't be there.
Well, that was in the Tower of the Reckless Magician. That's going to be forever known as your Devil's Rock.
Yeah, that's right. So here's another immersion kicker for me. Now, he's running along this path, and there's a branch. Why doesn't he fall over and get tripped? Those little details
Oh, right there. Yeah.
Well, granted, I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice in the term of complete fluff to see them like step up over it, But
not even step over it. Actually, trip, because that's not been done before. Right?
It hasn't. But can you imagine running through a forest and tripping every 3 feet?
Yeah, you'd be falling.
I'd be like, you know what? No.
Well, hey, that's where you add in. You got safe fall. Now you add in tripping skill.
I'll tell you what, it deter trains to zone.
If you throw a tripping skill in there, I am going to have that maxed in the first 30 seconds.
Because that's the thing, right?
Pure and simple.
Like you said, you're training through the zone, and imagine that you're training through the zone, running for your life, and you trip over, and you get ganked by the mobs behind, just like ha.
That's like some horror movie.
You're like a bad Friday the 13th.
I would get saltier than the ocean.
I mean, even doing something like that as a Easter gag or an April Fool's or something, I would applaud you VR. I would applaud
I could see that as April Fool's.
That. Yeah,
I could see that in game for April
Go
Fool's.
that extra mile, please, and
but
add some funny elements. Getting knocked
here's why
over by
tripping would not work. Tripping would not work in an MMO, but here's why. If you had a tripping skill, you've got adult characters that are basically walking around like toddlers. They can't take 2 steps without falling, trying to learn how to walk to get their tripping skill up. That is so far away from immersion that there's just no. Absolutely not. And it would make people not want to go to any scenic zone that might have stuff on the ground. Like, oh, let's go explore these ruins. Nope. I might trip and fall. No, thank you. It's like, no. I no. Just no.
Yeah, especially with the animation, because you'd have to fall and you'd have to get back up. It would take so much time away, and I could see myself just being like, oh, for crying out loud, just let me run.
And then imagine just Cohh tripping over now and he breaks his stick.
Well, that's assuming that it works too.
He broke his stick in Oldwood.
Who's
because he didn't touch it.
You're randomly running down the road and you just fall for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's one of those things where it's neat in theory, but no way in hell would it ever be practical to put in.
It's not meant to be practical, is it? It's meant to make you trip.
That's a feature you put in when you just want to troll your players.
So VR, that might be an idea for you guys, for April Fool's, for Easter eggs, or even for when you're just feeling like being a little bit mischievous. Have a tree clothesline a player or something like that. That's like an ogre.
Have a GM. Have a GM command that makes a player trip. There you go. That's all you gotta do. And make them, when they trip, make them move forward slightly, so you could technically trip them and make them go off a cliff. There, as a GM, you're doing some customer support, and someone's being a real and all of a sudden they trip and fall and be like, oh, I'm sorry. If you're willing to calm down, we'll take care of this problem. They tell you some other choice words, trip them again.
No, you know what they should do, right? They should have in-game chat tag certain words. So when people start complaining about the game, they're in-game and like, this game sucks! And you hear it time and again. Go play something else if you don't like it, blah, blah, blah. But people still stick around, they still complain. All those complaining,
that's
you
human
take
nature,
keywords. I know, but you take keywords that they say, and certain things happen to them. Like you said, they trip. They get ported to the cliff, and they it's like, you got 2 seconds to react. When you get zoned into that area, you got 2 seconds to react, to move yourself forward, or you're going to fall down and die. That'd be cool as well.
That'd be a hard nope.
A means to actually, troll the trolls.
Granted, I do believe GM should have means to deal with what's the word I'm looking for? I guess troll players. Give them the tools to troll them back.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting them in the prison zone or the timeout zone, just give them a reason to, miscreant players. That's the word. So It's like taste their own medicine.
Mm. So
but moving on to something that isn't complete BS.
I know. It's what, hey, but John, Alex, it's what we do though, isn't it? You know, we get sidetracked with
Not
ideas.
for much longer.
Hey, Michael, you got up your game. You've been quiet.
What?
Jack,
get a word in here.
He's sitting there going, oh, what the hell did I agree to?
So we're looking at concept art here now, from where they basically melded the Spriggan with the land itself, and that's gone a long way. If you look at some of the original design philosophy that they had in there, the early concept, and what it's turned into, they really outdid themselves.
Yeah, I will also say that their concept art is very, very well done.
Yeah. It's not too realistic. It's not too comical.
It's almost like cell shaded.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it very easy to follow, I would assume.
That Spriggan's got to be what, like a 34C? Wouldn't you?
I hope so.
From the side shot, at least it looks like it.
That's my kind of tree.
Tree boobs.
But
hey,
no boobs.
You heard it here first, okay?
You heard it here first.
The only tree I don't chop down is the one with boobs.
With my old wood.
Yeah, right. In old wood. Because the game asked me if I should touch it.
Exactly, you didn't touch it.
Oh my god.
We just went
By the
off
way,
the rails.
by the way, this stream is rated MA for mature.
So one thing that I do have to
Shouldn't
ask
it be IM for immature?
is that...
Definitely.
Hey, Shy, it's your job to tame us. You're not doing a good job at all, are you?
She's been
You know,
deathly
at
ill
this point,
for the
I don't
last 3
care.
weeks.
So, are those mountains like full of snow behind the tree or something? It kind of looks
Or
like
fog.
that. Alright, so let's see what comes up next. Booch, what's on your list of notes, or Mica? Do you have any notes? Anything you want to bring up?
One thing. So there's 2 things about the stream that I want to talk about, and the first one was I'm not sure, other than Joppa, I'm not sure I can't remember who was talking, but the one thing I really liked is and this is something I pointed out before that's being very important. You could hear how excited he was to talk about this stuff, and I love that. That makes me more excited about stuff than anything. I love that, hearing that enthusiasm. Yeah, and hearing how these developers being excited to show you. I think that's super important. And then the other thing was, it was kind of an irritation, was they told Cohh, hey, run around and explore, and he stayed in like a 20-foot radius circle.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
dude, come on, run around.
Right after he said, I want to run around and see everything, and then he takes 3 steps and turns around. It's like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, come on,
yeah,
move around.
So that's the difference between Cohh and someone like me or Lex, right? Coh's being professional, not trying to reveal too much. If they would have if we would have been there, if we would have been there instead of Cohh, trust me, if they would have said before they even finished that sentence, Lex would have gone off in one direction, I would have gone off in the other, and be like, "See you, suckers."
but this is exactly why we're not the ones doing that.
I know.
For good reason.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they told him, like, hey, don't go beyond the Spriggan tree, don't go beyond this thing here, if you just keep it in there. But, I mean, it was like, well, why aren't you moving around more? It's like, they told you just have at it, so have at it. Come on, I want to see this.
Well, they also did say something to him about don't wander too far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's kind of like,
but the thing is,
go,
it's
be
kind
free, but stay here.
Yeah, I know. So it's kind of like, it kind of outweighs each other. Go and
Yeah,
explore, but don't go too far.
Right.
What is it? Explore.
I don't fault him for being cautious on that one. I really don't.
It's perfect. He did a great
Like,
job.
it's like, for me, halfway through the zone is not too far. So
if I'm 3 zones away, then it might be too far.
What are you guys complaining about? I'm smack in the middle. I didn't go too far. I didn't go too far to the left, too far to the right, too far.
My
forward,
character's
too
still in
far
the middle of
back.
my screen.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at this concept, the layering of it, of how they basically, bringing it to life, going through currently on the screen, is, it's very interesting to see this level of insight into the development of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that developers don't do enough of. And I know it's time consuming, setting up these streams, getting everything prepared and everything and talking about it, but it goes a long, long way, to actually be able to give people some insight into, what you guys are doing. It makes people also better understand, why you take your time or are taking a longer time, getting to where you're headed, and so forth and so forth. So doing these kind of streams is relatively important, and like Lex said at the beginning, this is what people want to see.
To a lot of people out there that complain about how long it's taking, just to get better acquainted with what actually is going on, if you are not already a 3D person, go ahead and download Blender. Go make yourself some assets and just see how long that takes you.
Right. Yep. I mean, even if you compare the early shots of this what we're looking at right now, and then you look at the close-ups when they put the contour lines in, and I mean that makes all the difference in the world. The thing comes to life.
Right.
It's one thing if you see this brown, what looks like a root from a tree, and then you see this brown with contour lines, and it actually, you would think it is a root from a tree. There's a big difference, and that takes time. I mean, look at the veins on the leaf.
And that's why I just want to. That's why I paused it right
day.
here. A leaf that's on a friggin' tree.
Right.
Right. Something that you're not really going to pay attention to so much. If they put that much of level of love into the details of a friggin' leaf that sits on a tree, oh my god.
I mean, you've got the veins, you've got the shading, you've got the contours, you've got the texture. Look at the texture they put on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one more thing you didn't even think of. There's a texture to that leaf. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Especially, I mean, they're such a small crew. It's just like, I mean, for a small crew, I honestly wasn't expecting this kind of level of anything. It's like I know who they are and what they can do, but yeah, this was like much more than I expected.
It's just the whole way this zone is designed as well. The colors, the themes, everything fits in unity. It looks like it was meant to be. It's very well designed. The guys behind the whole, layout is what I'll call it, because I don't know the proper terminology. But all the way the detailing of how things look and everything, they've done a fantastic job. They've done a fantastic job.
Oh, absolutely.
I can tell you right now, I couldn't have done better. Mind you,
there's a lot.
My graphical talent is pretty much restricted to crayons.
I mean, there's a lot into it. I mean, look, the way they place the stones, the way they curve the roots of the tree, all that's all a decision. You know what I mean? You don't just go, okay, I'm gonna just put this thing going to the left, I'll put this one going to the right, and then it will look stupid. You know what I mean? But then you actually put some thought into it, and then you have something that looks realistic.
Yeah, I mean, they even talked about how they tried it in different like the spring in different poses and everything. And it's like, this is the way that was speaking to them, and it's like, I couldn't complain about how it looks.
Yeah, and now I pause the screen now because basically, you've got a shot from where the water basically is, so the camera's obviously moved into a different position. You can see these lilies or whatever they're called, these flowers moving.
Plants.
And what?
Plants.
Plants moving and everything, and it's just crazy, right? And there's some climbing for you. Look, on this simple rock, you can climb.
Yep. And then he couldn't get back to it. Although it was interesting to hear that the ledges that you can grab will depend strictly upon your climbing skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting feature as well. You know, to kind
Think
of like,
about that. Think about that for raids.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to climb to get to this
know,
boss.
you don't need
the whole raid. The whole raid's got to be able to climb up
Exactly.
there, or you can't raid.
You know, it's not what's your gear score. It's like, what's your climbing score, dude?
Yeah, can you climb? Can you get up here? You know.
Are you a master climber yet?
That just gives me
I'm a
total
master
Breath of the
something, but I ain't
Wild.
climbing.
That just gives me Breath of the Wild like flashback. I think climbing adds like a whole new element. That was something
It's
I
going
was
to cause a lot of
see.
deaths for me. I know that.
I mean, and now just going into the evil mind of a developer. You add in little bits of areas where it's like, you know, it's slippery or it's iced, and now you're trying to grab up and now you slip. Your character falls all the way down to its death. VR could have a lot of fun.
How many cliffs are going to go to nothing? Just as a ha-ha. You know, you climb up. Oh, man, I made it. Look, I gained up 5 skill points. You get up there, and it just ends. I mean, that's realistic, you know?
Yeah.
Not every place you can get to the top of.
Yep.
Actually, it would be really interesting if you like. We've seen Amber Fate quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you're climbing on a cliff and or a ledge or whatever, and there's a part where you can jump to another one, how angry are you going to be if you're crawling along the edge, you jump and you realize your skill's too low and.
I mean, look at this now. Right? I paused this as well because just to show the levels of the game. You know, you've got so many tiers. They're in Faethale, and now you can look down and right down there somewhere. There's another area to explore. And then you know when you look in the distance, you've got mountains and hills that you can go up to. You know, there's so many ways you can go. Most games don't have that, or have a lot of that, where you have all these different areas you can go and explore. You can go down, you can go up, you can go sideways, you can go diagonal. Not a lot of those zones or games have these kind of zones in there. And just look at, and Cohh hasn't really gone far, you know, and wandered around a lot here, but it makes you wonder, how big is this zone going to be?
Right. I mean, that makes me go back to, I'm going to say it again, what I was thinking before. If they're going this in detail in this part of the game, how in detail are these quests going to be? It's not going to be go get me 10 bat wings and come right back. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's going to be, if they're putting this much into this aspect of the game, I can only imagine what the questing aspect is going to be. It's going to be cool. It's going to be very cool. I think, at least.
Well, they also have all those branches too. I mean, it's so. I mean,
go on, Mike.
Let the man finish.
I say the questing could get so incredibly deep with all these branching, especially if your choice matters at all. I mean, there's just yeah,
that's it. Good thing you brought that up, right? VR. So we got climbing in the game. Hooray! But Micah just said it. We have branches, right? Can I swing from tree to tree? That would be the
I meant
next.
branching as like branching quest lines.
I know, but branching. I know what you
literally.
mean.
He meant figuratively.
I'm going right here, right now.
He's talking literal branches.
Looking at Faethale, right? Let's go and take this one further. You got climbing and everything, but hey, I want to be able to climb up a tree, grab a branch, and then swing over to the next one. Is that a possibility? Maybe an upgrade at some later point?
If you do that, Yarn, if you do that, and I'm in your group, I expect to hear you do a Tarzan yell when you do that.
You'll get a Tarzan yell. I mean,
will it be, like you're saying, will it be Assassin's Creed type of climb, jump, grab, by the tips of your fingers? I mean, are you going to be that good? Who knows?
I mean, don't forget, we do know that the assassin can use rope as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
A rogue.
Or rogues. A rogue. Assassin. What's that? What are you showing me there, dude?
Parkour.
Yeah, that's it. Let's take it one further. Let's go parkour. You have a parkour skill. So you can actually, you know, parkour your way over little twigs in the ground that might trip you and slide off the cliff.
The good thing I'm leaving the show is I'm about to slap him. God.
I'm gonna go fast forward a little bit, see where we are.
Oh, and how excited are you about the belly button camera for first person?
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if it was now when they went over to the
Isle of Infinite Storms.
yeah. Yep, this is it. This is one I really want to talk about, because this really just when they went through here, this just literally blew my mind.
Oh God, yeah. I love how it's like off the edge of a cliff too. It's like pucker up.
Yeah, here we go.
It's like you jump first.
It's like, I don't know. Go back a little bit if you can, because it didn't even look like it was a hard stop. It looked like the bridge kind of faded into nothing.
Yeah, right. It did. Yeah.
Let's have a look. I went back.
Yeah. Watch. It looks like there's nothing there when he shows the down angle.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe it does end. Damn.
Yeah, right there.
I thought it
Yeah, that bridge is
off. I was
broken.
like, that's cool.
So this zone, you know, just looks freaking out of this world, and it in a manner of speaking, it is out of this world.
It does look good.
But it reminds
so
me,
fun.
but I'm trying to think now. It reminds me of a scene from a movie. I'm trying to think which one. Was it one of the Star Trek movies where they had this blackness come out like spikes and everything?
That's racist.
A little bit like the fiery planet there from Star Wars, where they fight but obviously there's no lava.
So if you get the high
Anakin
ground, you're safe.
where he thought he had a chance.
So the ion
Although-
bolts in the sky.
Yeah.
You pointed out something very interesting, Lex. So I'll let you speak about this for a minute.
I did? When the hell was this?
Dude, this was like yesterday or something.
I don't even remember what I did 20 minutes ago.
Dude, eyeball. I
Huh?
was talking about basically having that kind of like, you know, if it was animated. And,
Oh!
And you said
Yeah,
it looks
that'd be
like
really
an
cool.
eyeball. You said
No, I don't think I said that.
Yeah, you did. You said it looks like an eyeball.
Oh, like an eyeball shooting at someone's skull.
But look at that. Now
I'm a
this,
Direwolf at heart. Sue me.
Typical Scar.
now this is just, you know, out of this world design. We look at,
We do need some kind of animation to that, though. Just
Yeah.
something very subtle.
Yes.
very,
Yep.
very subtle that it's moving slightly. It looks like it's moving and swallowing up. I don't know if it's a fireball. I don't know if that lightning's kind of trying to encumber the planet or moon or whatever that is. But give us the sense of it like slowly devouring that planet or moving around it or something like that. That
It
would
did
be-
have a slight animation to it.
It did.
Yeah, they
Did?
had some
Yeah.
another screenshot they'll show. Well, there's like a different scene where there's actually colors, a belt of colors around it. If they made that belt of colors move, it would give the illusion that ball was moving.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
see, you could tell the I'm pointing at my screen like you can see. You could tell the stuff is actually moving. There is a slight animation there.
Well, realistically, if it's a gigantic sphere like that, if it was moving, it would be so hard to see it
Yeah,
moving unless
it
it
would
was
be.
spinning like a top. You know what I mean?
I was thinking more of like the actual effects that are coming off of it, like that lightning or whatever.
Mhm.
Animate that
Oh,
slightly.
if that was moving, that would be wild.
Yeah, I'd be like, don't even
Yeah.
worry about the planetoid or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Just the effect around it. Have that shimmer or shift or
Yeah.
Yeah.
move a little bit. I'd like,
No,
I don't
no,
know what's going on, but I want to go there.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I want to
No,
touch
if you-
it.
if
Am
you
I
play the
worthy?
video, if you play the video and look, that lightning around it is moving.
We'll play in a minute because I want to talk about
It's
the
got a very
level,
little-
the level of detail on, you know, these surfaces and the way the lighting works. You know, they really outdid themselves again with showing us this. You can see like the light reflections, and again, the detail in the rocks is just out of this world. And there's a great shot coming up where you see it now. There you go. Right. It looks like a very well done steak where they're standing, and then you've got.
Are you hungry? Did you eat yet?
I'm just messing. But it looks really scary. It looks, I wonder if you can actually go even further down there though. If that's, that would be cool to see if you can actually go further down. I doubt it, but this is a really cool zone.
It is.
Looking at that.
I mean, I love the little jumping puzzle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love how it's almost like some big arena.
And the thing is, right, even looking at this...
That's a great raid zone.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reusability as well to think about. Actually go and think about this, because me mentioning, can you go down there? Obviously, that wasn't the intention. But this is something that they could reuse at a later time, and they've got the world underneath where they could add additional assets to kind of expand on it if they wanted to. So they've got endless possibilities here, and it would be a shame to see everything around it not be used at some point. But I can't wait for this to actually kick in, so I'm going to go and fast forward a little bit to where they start. Before we go into that, we'll talk about the Spellbook. Another new feature we get to see in some level of detail. What do you guys think about the new Spellbook? I mean, we saw them talk about it in the one of the mock-up streams where they were talking about what they've been working on, but we now get to see it in game. So Lex, we'll start with you.
I like it. I love it. Plain and simple. I mean, it's clean. It's minimalistic. I get all the functionality I want out of it. I can sort. I can search. I'm assuming you'll be able to move stuff around if you really want to. But the whole, the tiering system for your spells, it's simple. And it's effective. They're not trying to sugarcoat it and call it things that it isn't. Like ESOs, you're evolving or mutating a spell. It's like, yeah, but it's the same no matter what. I mean, and when Cohh is doing the run speed buff, I mean, the alterations you get are really, head scratchers. You really got to consider these points, because it took the single target run speed buff to all of a sudden now it's a group spell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty freaking useful.
Yep.
But what if I were to do that on a group heal instead? And they said they were going to add something to the tooltips that actually kind of tells you what the next step's going to be. So I can see myself sitting there going, I've got 6 or 7, abilities that are my main go-tos.
Yeah.
I got an ability point. Well, sorry guys, I got AFK for a few minutes because I need to consider this decision.
Mm.
Which is great. I love it.
Micah?
Well, I know they had sort of the system in EQ, so it's going to take me a little bit to get used to having to flip through pages. But because I'm used to just having everything in front of me at the same time. But I think it looks really well done, and it seems very user friendly and just something that's going to be. I mean, the abilities and stuff, obviously, you're going to have to put some thought into. There's going to definitely be best builds and stuff that come out from it. But it's it just looks like it's very good. The only thing that I was kind of about is the fact that it takes 1 to upgrade, then 3 to upgrade, then 9 to upgrade. And I'm the type of person where I'd rather points be less plentiful and just have 1 to upgrade each one instead of being like, I need 9. Because it feels like it feels like
why spend 9 to boost this 1 point when you could technically boost 9 other skills 1?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of feels like you're
it feels like it needs a little balancing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, there's going to be limitations. They've already limited, you know, what you're going to be able to do, kind of thing, instead of giving you free realm. It feels like, you know, there's going to be a certain amount of points you can gather, and you've got to really think about what you're going to do. You know,
right.
As us, you know, us talking earlier on about, you know, giving the world a sense of it moving and evolving with time and aging with time. You know, this goes the same way with the spells and everything. The more time I spend in the game, the more knowledge I gain, and I should be rewarded for the time I'm spending in there. So if somebody's got the time to play 8 hours a day, 365 days a week, rather than somebody like, you know, who can only play like 2 hours a day, that person who's spent 8 hours a day playing it, he's going to be able to, you know, acquire a higher number of points and be able to have a higher knowledge with his spells that he's got at his arsenal. Because at the end of the day, I mean, don't forget though as well, you know, they've talked about archetypes as well, so that has to be taken into consideration as well. You start off with your archetype monk, and then, you know, you could end up going down different paths. So maybe that's why some of that, you know, these systems are put into there, where you have this point system that, you know, the first one costs so much, the second one costs this. So maybe those are things that have to take into consideration as well. But yeah, you know, giving us more free realm and not kind of indicating that there's going to be limitations, because that's one of the things that's always bugged me as well, is why can't I, you know, have the knowledge or spend the time, you know, if I put the work into this character and actually go the levels to gain all this knowledge and do everything, then, you know, why am I restricted? Why can't I become, you know, something that has all the knowledge, or has, you know, worked really hard to gain all this knowledge? Why restrict me? And you know, because you said it, Mica, flavor of the month. It screams for me, flavor of the month could possibly, you know, be something that happens in unintentionally with a system built like this. And that's something that's always bugged me. That's why I ran away from EverQuest 2, because it was a flavor of it turned into flavor of the month. Period. You didn't have your build done this way, you were utterly useless. And I don't want that to happen. You know, and that's the fear that I kind of have with you know, what you mentioned there, Mica. But carry on.
Yeah, like I said, I'd just rather the points be less plentiful and everything, and just you know, putting 9 points into something just feels like a bummer all the time. But yeah, I mean, if there are different archetypes, I mean that could resolve the best builds problem. But it all depends on it. It's so tricky and balancing, and if you give too many points, then the characters get OP, and it's so. I mean, this is a realm where I'm just kind of like, do what you think is best, VR, because
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I would not want to deal with this aspect of game design.
I think what it's going to come down to as well, you know, for the best build and this, that, and the other, is as long as they make the upgrades reasonable to the spell itself, or what it could affect for your class. As long as it's something that absolutely makes sense for that class, I will be absolutely fine with limitations, with restrictions, this, that, and the other, and having to spend a lot of points, because that's what it's going to come down to. Because that's something that, you know, a lot of games do not consider. They'll give you upgrades for your spells, but it's something that is absolutely useless to you, you know, because they bring out a game update, or they bring out a new expansion pack or something like that, or they bring in a patch and they added in a point system of sorts, but you're already so far leveled up that this update for this spell, or this additional update for this spell, is pointless for you for the zones that you're roaming in. Like in EverQuest 2, I could charm animals as a druid. But the zones I was in, they weren't humanoid. You know, there was no more humanoids around. It was all just, you know, alien-like and this and that. So, you know, but I had to spend points in there to get to a certain thing. It's things like that what they have to consider. You know, make it make sense for, you know, not just the beginning characters or the end characters or people going down this. Make sure you look at what you're doing, and it looks like they've done that. You know, when Cohh actually upgrades, you look at the outcome of these upgrades, which I'm actually playing right now. It makes sense. It's actually a reasonable upgrade behind that spell and what it affects later on going forward. It's not something that is just put out there just to kind of give us the sense of alternate advancement and spell trees and this, that and the other. It actually makes sense. They've actually considered what they're doing and how it's going to affect you as a player. But Booch, let's hear from you real quick about the Spellbook before I go.
Well, when they showcased it, I was kind of harsh on it because I bashed the look of it, because I wasn't a big fan of just the design of it. How it's gray and it looks almost industrial, and the you know, it's trivial stuff. The fonts they used, and I wasn't a big fan of some of the icons. But the more I look at the icons, they're starting to grow on me. I mean, they're decent. But the functionality of it, and the system with the, you know, the upgradable abilities is genius, I think. I mean, in just the fact that, you know, your buff goes from an individual self buff to a group buff, instead of having to go get a whole new spell that's a group buff spell, which is the same friggin' spell you had for yourself, but you have to lug around another, you know, have to go find another spell, and then that, and they you know, they implemented where it's not only turning that spell into a group spell. Now there's options where, like Cohh, you see as a shaman, he had one that it reduced the cast time. One it actually gave a debuff in addition to a dot. So what that's going to do is, since there's going to be a finite amount of these ability points you're going to be able to get, it's going to make a person decide what type of gameplay you're going to be doing. So take a shaman, for example. Are you going to be a shaman that's going to do a lot of dot damage and direct damage, or are you going to be a healing shaman? So for that, with those ability points, you're going to use them to upgrade your dot and your debuff, or are you going to use them to make a better heal spell? So you're going to have a lot of decisions to make along the way. And I'm sure it's going to be like that with every class. I mean, we've only seen this quick little shaman. So, I mean, a warrior is going to have certain things where they're going to have to either gain more aggro, you know, a better aggro gaining spell, or a shout, or something, you know, something to that nature. More, you know, a better self buff for armor. There's going to be decision making, which is, you know, it adds an aspect to the game.
And that's the important thing, though, as well. I hope, though, that there is no right decision at the end of the day. Like you said, you know, being a focused on healing shaman, or focused on your dots, or focused on your utility. I hope that, you know, you can go down different paths and still be a vital member to your group, to your community, you know, to the events going forward, what you're doing with your group. That's one of the main things that's always bugged me in these MMOs. You know,
well, the other question is, are you going to be able to reset them? So in other words, you know, take shaman's a perfect example. Okay, you're in a group where now we need a guy who's going to heal heavy. Do you have your all my stuff's dot based? So can I go and
who's heavy and why is he in my group?
Right. So can I go respec real quick? Or am I kind of set? You know, you better make up your mind, because you can't. Once you're there, you know.
That's one of the things, though, that we've talked about extensively, though, over, you know, a multitude of shows. And this is where I say, you know, when you look at all these games out there, all these MMOs where you build your groups, you always hear the same arguments from people who build these groups because of the way these games are designed. Oh, we've already got a plate tank, or we've already got a plate healer in our group. We can't take you with us. You know? Well, get rid of that restriction. by allowing us to take a second shaman with us now, so we fill the group spot rather than kicking that guy out or have him have to go and respec. Let's go and get a second shaman now, who's now focused on the healing side of it. So we've got a shaman in the group now who's focused on the healing, and we've got this other shaman who's focused on doing damage or whatever. And they're Bob and Uncle. They meld together. They don't overstack each other. That's how they should be looking at this.
Well, you're gonna almost have to have. I'm gonna say like almost a bard-like mentality. Like when you're playing EQ. When I used to play EQ, you would have to determine the songs you're twisting by the group you're in.
Yep.
So if I'm in a caster heavy group, I'm not going to be singing the melee increasing, so haste increasing song, because it's not doing any good. I mean, I'm doing the mana regen. I'm doing the proc song that's proccing after the cast. So you could do the same thing in this, where you know what your role is going to be. So you have to adjust your abilities according to that.
What about giving something like that though as well? Obviously, it's all about taking money out of the game and keeping everything balanced. That's why they have all these restrictions on the reset, so it costs you a lot of money every time you go and do it. They could still kind of achieve that if they gave the players these kind of powers as well. I would be perfectly fine with a wizard or an enchanter having the ability to wipe my memory, kind of thing.
There's a lot of times in my past I wish there was a enchanter to wipe my memory.
1987, I think.
I'd
like to get rid of that year.
And that would also add add another level to these classes as well. You have a wizard in the group. You need to respec. Well, you could go and spend half an hour trying to travel back or whatever, or you've got a port stone. We don't know what's going to go on. You can do all that and this and the other, or you could actually have some enchanter or wizard in your group that might have this ability to do it. And again, that adds another level of choices you make as well to that specific class. Do I take this ability to actually render people's minds back to the original form of the sense of their spellbook, so they can start spending these points again to respec? It would add a new feature to the game, a new level of how we interact as well.
And then if you look at it from the other angle, rather than you have, say, 30 ability points saved up, and at your current level, you can either do, like you're saying, heals or dots or whatever. That just gives you more incentive to, I need more ability points. Yeah. So you got to go grind out 20 more ability points. That keeps you, that gives you something to do. That gives you something to look forward to. Okay, I need to get these 20 more ability points so I can have heals and dots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you kind of, you can mix and match it. You can become like the ultimate healing shaman or the ultimate dot shaman, or you're split in the middle. You're not perfect at both. You're not perfect. You're not perfect at one of them. You're a mix of both together combined. And
because is there going to be a finite amount? In other words, at level 50, for example, is there going to be only? We'll use 80 because he had 80. Is there going to be 80 ability points maximum that you can get? So you got to choose which ones you want to upgrade and which ones you can, or you can just continually grind out ability points until you can just max out everything. Exactly. Which one is it going to be? Do we know?
No, I don't think we really do. I'd prefer that it be limited, to be honest.
Right, limited would give it more challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But to a point where it's worth it, though. It's still worth it. So, but anyway, going back to the spellbook, right? For me, I love the spell icons. They really stand out. They look good. But for me, you know what it screamed?
What?
All these little pieces on the side sticking out. I wanted to click on all of them. That's the first thing I want to do.
Tabs.
Yeah,
tabs.
Tabs.
I see.
I want to pull them. I want to pull down, pull up, pull to the left, pull to the right. It kind of like
getting dirty.
It just stood out to me. I think that's great. I love the spellbook. I really do, and it's very well.
Do you know what will be interesting though is to see, because we've heard in the past that VR really wants to allow people to skin the UI. It'll be really interesting to see how people skin that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely skin it because I don't like the way it looks. I mean, It's all right. I mean, but I just think for a fantasy game, it just looks too industrial. I don't know how to explain it. Everything's too. All the lines are too perfect. You know what I mean? It's
hey. There
it should look more like a leather.
Right, there are space gnomes in this game.
Oh, okay. So yeah, all right.
We do have gnomes from space.
So that's where this industrial look and this very precise precision work on the lines and everything comes from. So maybe space gnomes kind of designed the spellbook. Who knows? Now this is another. I want to quickly try and grab that scene from there. So let me go. Play attention. When Cohh basically runs past there, I want to pause the screen because when you look through there, it's like, what the hell? And the best is still yet to come, though. The best is still yet to come.
Yeah.
You know the end of this just blew my mind. It's like, what? Really?
That and I don't know if when you guys were listening to it, the EQ sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the spell stuff they're almost just like EQ. That's what's cool. I was like, oh, that's great.
And is it just me or was anyone else screaming at the screen, for the love of God, Cohh, heal him!
I know, right? I was like, I wonder if that's what I was thinking to myself. Like, I wonder if they're all wondering, like, why is he not healing me? He's just, he's casting spells, but
I mean, I'm not a healer by trade, but I was looking at the bar and I was like, I know he's got heals, so why aren't you healing?
See, I think the spell effects is good too because I'm not a big fan of like these gigantic. I don't want to have an epileptic seizure while I'm playing the game. So I like just the right amount. Yeah,
and that's one thing we have to notice though. It looks like they've toned it down.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
When you look back at Hauni's Cave, when they're going for Amber Fate and all the spell, it was like, it was flash, boom, boom everywhere.
Yeah.
And now it looks like it's more toned down to the individual character, and it looks better. It's a lot more easier on the eyes, because that's one thing that just really bugs the hell out of me. This
is an MMORPG, it's not a Michael Bay game.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
It's like, exactly, it's not Transformers, everything has to explode and light up. It's a lot easier as well to have an oversight of your group, especially when you're a tank or a healer. Having all those, especially when you're wearing glasses and you're almost blind as well, it doesn't make life easier when things are flashy or you're colorblind, for instance. It does not help when everything's lighting up like it's, the 4th of July. So
then I wonder if you're going to be able to move that cast timer. You notice where the cast timer was dead in the middle of the screen. When he's casting, you see that. That would be.
That's a feature that is like even EQ can do that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So looking at this pause screen right now, when you look into the distance, it just screams, "What is
to me?"
There?
I see that now, and I just because I spent so many hours reading, I go there. The shit's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It screams, I want to go and explore. It looks like there's nothing there, but I still want to go look at it.
You go ahead and explore. I'll get the raid together to help scrape your remains off.
Look where they're standing right now. That's like they definitely designed this zone as a raid. Look at that's like a perfect circle area where raid forms right here before we go in. Everyone buffs up.
And it looks, even though I've got a theory, it looks like it's multi-tiered as well. Because you see in the middle there where the sleeper, I think that's where the sleeper is or whatever it is, or the throne. So it looks like a throne of sorts or something like that.
Yeah, that's him to the left, right? That's.
Yeah. I believe so. Yes.
And then even further to the left, you've got another level of planetary space there with the same thing sitting on there by the looks of it. So it already looks like there's a event going on there, so you do something on this level and then he'll disappear to the next one. You got to get there somehow or whatever, and then you carry the fight on. So it looks like a multi-tiered raid.
Well, the only request I want to make is that there's a perception that pops up that says "Pucker up, princess."
And let's not forget too that the weather in here they said is going to affect you.
Yeah, dude.
With the lightning bolts and everything,
yeah.
They said that's going to cause some major damage if you get hit by those.
I think Cohh actually gets hit by one.
Because it even makes.
Yeah, but I think the damage was turned off on them. And they even said that if that happens in the actual game, it's going to be very, very bad for you.
Great for AFKers.
It's already making me, my mind wander and think, like, can you do something with those pillars, though?
Looks like you might be able to climb on top of them, because it looks like something that,
What would be very interesting is if those pillars were platforms that you could put, like, your ranged guys up there to get some kind of bonus. But being a small area, you still have to dodge lightning strike.
Yeah.
Not just get up there, get a bonus, and be like, haha, we're winning. It's like, well, you can go up there, but you got to pay some major attention for that bonus.
And again, showing off the design flow of how they came to where they are now is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
that's wild. Yeah, see that's the shot. See the colorful. Like, I guess it's supposed to be clouds or something around that ball. There was like all colors.
Yeah, well, let's say I haven't seen it while it was playing.
No, it wasn't.
But that might have just been it might have just been like a stage, and they decided to take that out.
Anyway, let's look at this, because this is it. This is it for me. This is like, this is the moment where I went like, bam, my chin just dropped onto the freaking desk, like, my mouth was like this.
I can picture Yarn just going like this and squealing like a schoolgirl.
And there's those weird Capricorn sticky ill.
Oh, they're moving around.
They mentioned. I mean, look at it, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna lick it.
It's almost like, yeah, exactly. It's like, this kid's sticking on me. Get this stuff off me, man.
Actually, notice those pillars are. I wonder if those are a power source of some sort. Like maybe you have to knock those down.
Maybe.
Don't loot the stuff. Oh, bugger.
There's a lot of stuff you can do with things like that.
Right. Go stop looting the stuff. No. Don't loot the stuff. Go stop looting.
Stop stealing the loot, man.
This is interesting. Here we go. Look how they're bedazzled. And it seems to only affect certain classes. Or maybe it's due to your perception or something like that, or whatever. Come, Cohh, into my living nightmare.
Yeah, see, that's a guy. That's a guy I don't mind dying to.
Now look at this. How it's changed. How it's changed. How this atmosphere's all changed. The environment and everything. I mean, look at that. Look at that wind and him getting pushed to the side. Oh my God.
And Joppa said it's not even fully implemented. He says when the game launches, it'll be, actually pushing your tune to the side, and it'll make them.
This is crazy, man. This just made me have really high hopes for, and they call this extreme climax. Please, VR, for the love of God, have something similar like this for the weather as well. The normal weather, rain, storms.
Assuming weather isn't a constant occurrence.
Yeah, assuming that, right?
Or even just have it like it's a rain. It's okay. You have weather going on in a zone that's a rainstorm. Well, maybe there's a chance that it escalates into a really bad storm. And then you can put like a wind shear in it as well.
Yeah.
Just an idea. I don't know how well it would actually play out.
Because you could have like you said, Lex. You mentioned this yesterday, or earlier on. I can't remember. One of the two it was. They don't have to make it completely extreme in the entire zone, but they can have like little pockets where you kind of get the sense that this is a bad storm. So you're running through the rain, and now all of a sudden that you're getting pushed back at a certain point due to winds gushing through. So it gives you that sense of how weather normally works. But it's not everywhere where it's raining you feel the wind.
Well, right. Plus it's a magical world, so who's to say? Some specific item has a magical effect that will create crazy weather around it, so you don't go near it. Who knows?
Right.
And the way these lightning effects coexist with the weather going on, the way they've done this, again, they outdid themselves. It looks phenomenal. It looks, when these strikes come down, look at it, everybody. This looks phenomenal, man.
Yeah, there it goes, pushing them sideways. That's awesome.
One thing I want to point out, I don't think I haven't heard anybody else point this out before. That boss sitting on the throne is the same boss they teased at the last Cohh Carnage stream.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they revealed the lightning strikes.
Yeah, just no one.
Boom.
Could I point that out because I haven't heard that yet? But yeah.
There it goes. Boom.
That's awesome.
I mean, you can hardly see 5 feet in front of you, and that makes it really. This is what challenge is about, right? It's not necessarily making the game hard. It's all the elements together that make it challenging.
Creates a unique challenge.
Yeah, exactly. This is a new way to engage in challenge. This is what they're talking. Oh, excuse me. This is what they're talking about. This is what it means. This is what challenge is meant to mean. It's not just about making the game hard. The the encounters. I mean, look at that. How he exploded.
Yeah, it's not just this guy's a DPS check, so we have to, we have to make sure our gear's up there and everyone does the rotations right. That's not difficult. It's just
you have to climb.
practice.
You have to explore. You have to have perception. You have to look at your skills. You have to deal with weather and climates and everything. You have to. There's so much that brings that challenge to it, and that's what people need to. Be positive about. That's what they mean by challenge in game. It's not, hey, we're making, like Lex said, DPS, and you got to beat them down. There's a lot more to it, and that's what the challenge is for for this type of game for Pantheon. It's engaging
damage is
the entire
off.
world. But that was just amazing. That just blew my mind seeing that, and I can't wait to see more of that.
Yarn was a happy fish stick.
Yep. Also, it begs the question: if I get struck by lightning as a mirror, what happens? Am I fired?
Oh, definitely, because you probably got more water in your
It must
body.
be Friday.
Yeah.
So here's some of the unfinished areas where they showed off the Briant Spriggan. I mean, they just look phenomenal as well.
And it's nice to know that even though some places like this are finished, using Faethale, they're able to finalize graphics, so implementing them is going to be faster.
Yeah.
Right. The whole thing with
you could-
Faethale was just to kind of refine their process to speed the process up as they go forward.
And
Yeah.
There's another thing to point out though as well. That's what Reference Zone Faethale was all about. And Joppa said this a long time ago as well. With them focusing on Project Faethale and implementing all the mechanics and stylizing and colors and themes and whatnot. Then moving forward after Faethale is done and dusted, they can scratch it off their list of things to do. They did say that. Then moving forward to work on the next zone, the next this, the next that is going to be a lot faster because all the stuff is already designed and working and implemented. So even though people might look at this now and go, "Oh my God, Faethale looks great," but if it took them that much time to just get that part done and then that one zone done, and they're still not quite finished yet, and now you look at this zone, for instance, it looks like another larger zone. Don't worry about that. These guys have a clear plan of where they want to be and how they're going to go about it.
Right.
That's because that's another thing that people will be worried about. Them going silent for a year. The what was it? What was it called? The Dark Year 2019.
I call it the VR blackout.
The VR blackout. There you go. The VR blackout of 2019. We take it a certain way, but people from the outside looking from the outside in that aren't as connected as people who have been supporting them for a longer time and involved in the larger community. They're going to look at this and go, if it's taken them that long to get that done, and now look, this isn't done yet. Don't worry about that. They've got a clear plan on how they want to go about it, and they've set the foundations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like anything. I mean, no matter what you're doing, you focus on one thing and you get that done. And then it just kind of like, the other stuff just kind of happens like faster than...
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Michael J. Scott.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was good that they just focused on one. Now I am really eager to see different zones though, because okay, well that's very beautiful, but what's the Scar Zone going to be like? And what's
that's the thing though, right? I'm kind of afraid of that, and that's the same with the testing phases. You know, pre-alpha, alpha, beta. While I love seeing what I can get my hands on, and don't mind at the same time, I'm kind of cautious.
Oh, Yarn, I'm flattered.
Because I don't want to know everything before the game's released and see everything. I want to be awed. You know, I've been waiting to be awed again by an MMO. You know, I remember the first time I got involved in MMOs was EverQuest 2, and I was just like gobsmacked and like, wow, this is so amazing. And I've waited for that feeling to come back again for such a long time. It hasn't, and I'm kind of hoping that VR can achieve that. So it's one of those things where, would I like to see more? Yes. Would I like to see other things? Yes. But I don't want to see too much though. You know, I want to be able to go in there and not know about this and not know about that and not know about that.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to see more. I would be happy if they just said, "Look, we've completed Scarland. We've completed where the dwarves are. We've completed, but it looks just like Faethale. It's even with
back to Scarland.
Somebody please soundbite that.
It's as good as Faethale. It's just as good. Trust us." And I'd be like, "Okay, cool," because I want to see it for, like you're saying, I want to see it firsthand. I don't want to have seen 3/4 of the zone and be like, this is just
Vegas
like Scarland.
Terminus.
This is just like Scarland of old. You know, it's like
what happens in Scarland
stays in Scarland. Yeah.
Is that just a Scarland? Elvis?
For me, I like teasers of stuff, especially in games in development. I mean, in beta and alpha, you never get to see like a lot of zones. They also have things very limited. But I like those little teaser advertisements where they just kind of give you a little taste what the zone kind of looks like. Yeah. And then, because it doesn't compare to when you actually get in that zone and you're running around.
It's like with the testing stages themselves. I would prefer them breaking people into groups and giving them, you know, different tasks and different areas to explore and test. You know, give people groups, you know, things to do, to accomplish. So, you know, group A, B, C, D are in, you know, these zones doing this and doing that and doing that. Rather than giving us free round when we get to alpha, beta and whatnot, to go and do what we want. Now go back to the old ways of how testing was done. Don't let us see everything. And give us tasks. Because I want to be awed again. I want to click play for the first time, the game goes live and go, oh my god. You know, this is so great. I want to feel like a child again. That's like, you know, it's Christmas time.
I mean, in some of those lore stories, they've gone into pretty good detail describing, you know, like Hadassah, and then the ogres, the way their clans work and everything. They've gone into pretty good detail about those areas. So they've got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
As far as that, but I would personally, I don't want to see them until they're done. You know, I want to, like you're saying, I want to log in for the first time and go, wow, you know what I mean? Instead of, oh yeah, that's the same spot I saw from the stream. You know what I mean?
Because one of those things, it's one of those, personally, it's the thing where, you know, I've been a hardcore raider. I've been a douchebag as a gamer in MMO. You know, I've done it all. We've all done that. We've all been there. We've all rushed to the, you know, to max level to try and keep up with the best and compete against the best. And I'm afraid that I'll do that again if I have access. You know, so it's kind of like taming myself. Because the more that I see this game, and the more they evolve it, and the more they make it look absolutely amazing, the more I'm like, I can't wait. And I'll be honest, I do not know if I can hold myself back. I'll be the first one to admit it. I don't want to be like that anymore, but I'm not sure I could hold myself back anymore. So, yeah. Anything else on your list, Booch or Mica?
No, that's. I mean, just like I'm looking at that when we were looking at that last gray box there. That Jimmy Lane, the artist, hit it right on the head. He said the game should be fun as a cube. If it's not fun as a cube, then I really don't want to play it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that sums it up right there.
Yeah. If it's not a fun game, all the pretty junk you can slap on it isn't going to make it fun.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. That's why when I see these streams where they're showing all this artwork and all these features, I'm thinking in the back of my head, okay, now what else have they done that we don't see? Because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's going on that we don't know about that they're holding back. Because, and I like it that way. I don't want to know every single thing they're doing.
Let's go and compare this now to another studio that have basically hyped their game more than they should have, and you compare their streams to how VR have approached it. I'm more excited, and it's not because I'm biased towards the other game and in support of VR, but when you look at the marketing scheme of Intrepid, the way they promoted their game. If you look at that game, how they approached it with the reveals and everything, it's not as exciting.
And scheme is a proper word too.
That's all
I'll say.
It was not as exciting as what VR have been showing us over the progress of the development of their game so far. They've nailed the whole marketing aspect. They've always raised the bar, and it makes you, excited for more. And they actually show you stuff that you thought, hey, you guys have talked about this, but we haven't seen it. Now we've seen it, and we've seen what they can do with it. And like you said, Booch, you mentioned, Jopper mentioning that the wind shear will push you to the left and push you to the right and do this and do that when it's fully implemented. We've seen what it can do right now. And those are the kind of features you don't see in some of these other developers when they stream out their game. They show you how flashy and great the graphics look, but everything else isn't there. And VR have done the opposite. They made the graphics look flashy and great, but you can see the fun of playing that game. You can see how the mechanics are working, how everything's kind of molded together and given the right amount of thought in the whole process of designing it. That's what I want to say. That's me.
Well, the only thing I could probably disagree with is the whole marketing bit, because I think that VR, not only do they start trying to market it way too soon, it feels like whoever is in charge of marketing is finally trying to, getting a good firm grasp on what that means. All the past streams have been, hit or miss. If you want to be blatantly honest, a lot of the past streams have been pretty close to misses. The newsletters have been great. Don't get me wrong. The video newsletter is a perfect step forward. I still think they're doing that a little too frequently because I worry about them running out of stuff to talk about. But that's neither here nor there. This stream is probably the first shining example of what you should do. Because if there's a checkbox that you missed, it's like 1 out of 50. So who cares? Kind of thing. I talk to a lot of people about Pantheon on almost a freaking daily basis. And, I've yet to hear anything that was bad. There's some things that people weren't so keen on, but it's because they're not really interested in that, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. Like for me, am I concerned about the Spriggan? Not really. I'm sorry to say, it's fancy firewood, but
well, that's just your inner soul, though, speaking, right?
That's just me. That is just me. So, to me, talking about the Spriggan, while it is very good information for a lot of people, for someone like me, it's not that big of a deal. But it's still not bad. It's not a bad thing to do. Because I still enjoyed the questing. I still enjoyed seeing the raiding area. I still enjoyed seeing the process, I enjoyed seeing the actual weather effects in action. I loved seeing the UI. I loved seeing the whatever refinement they did to the textures for the armor. I love those. I love seeing the changes they made to the spellbook. I love knowing how the abilities work. So, just because they talked about one thing I didn't really care for so much, I literally don't care about that. I care about all the things that I did enjoy, and there is 20 times more things that I enjoyed in this. And I really, really hope that, if anything, I don't want them to raise the bar, although that's always a good goal to have. I want them to just maintain the bar.
Yeah. Mica?
Oh, Lexer's okay. I'm watching my screen. I've been very vocal about their marketing, so I think everybody kind of knows my thoughts and feelings on that at this point. But I'm just happy they're doing all this stuff now, and then they're doing it so well. So, yeah, I really don't have anything else to say about that because I've already said a lot on it, and I do think they are doing really well now, though, and I'm glad to see them doing more, because not saying anything is just as bad as saying too much.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
True.
Booch, your final words?
Well, for marketing, I would say, there's a lot to be. They could have did a lot better job, I think, and they still could. But I mean, I don't know enough about what you should do to promote your game to say like they should do this, they should do that. Just from my personal perspective, I would think it would go further, because we haven't seen much lore in a while now. I think little tidbits of lore, even if it's a 5-minute little video of a character you just thought up and made a little story about, that would go a long way, rather than having wait 6 months and then all of a sudden, oh, this is this main character. You know what I mean? I think more on a consistent basis is better than a big chunk over a 3 or 6 month period. Where where the constant flow is there, it's going to raise more people to hear about the game, rather than some guys searching on the internet for what's the next best MMO, and if they're not putting anything out, he's not getting any. You know what I'm saying? He's not getting any info. That's where I would improve. I mean, I want to see more lore personally.
I can agree. I as a bit of a amateur writer, I love reading the stories. Like I read all the lore stories, even though I don't care about dwarves. I don't care about gnomes. The stories are still great. And
Absolutely.
if they release new lore, I'm reading it. I mean, I read it almost religiously every couple months, because my memory's shot. I forget it. And it's like reading it all over again, which is the only good thing about head trauma.
I mean, that was one of my. I mean, if I'm going to be slightly negative, the grand scheme of the lore of Terminus, I thought was genius. It was great, but I think probably 75% of the individual little stories were good, and then the other 25% were were garbage, I thought. But I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. I think if you're going to put out a game and you're going to be professional about it, they could have did a little bit better on the individual stories. And going forward, like I said, I think even like little tidbits of a little character here, a little character there, would go a long way.
Getting sidetracked. But doesn't matter.
It's what we do here.
I know. So
if you came here for a cohesive show, well, joke's on you.
So we will have Lex and Mica with us until the 14th of March. That's when we celebrate our 4 years of the VOT show.
And you're to celebrate getting rid of me.
Yes, it's taken me 4 years. 4 years to down him.
That's right.
We'll push you off the cliff as a tribute when we, get to go into the game and go to the zone line where there's a cliff. I'll push you off of there. No, but the 14th, and then that will be where we'll be hosting our 4-year show. I do not know what we're going to do for that show. I cannot tell you yet right now. But we will be looking to have our whole new concept of layouts and a whole new, the final branding of the VOT, hopefully finalized by then. And hopefully by then we'll have the website semi up and running so you can see our show schedules, at least for the the upcoming shows 3-4 weeks or whatever in advance, with their minimal means to kind of engage with us to get more involved. Yeah, so this was our show for today, and Mica will be taking over from Lex. Officially on the 21st of March will be his first show where he steps into the shoes of Lexa and hopefully oversteps them and squashes Lex out of oblivion, because I'm fed up. I'm glad you came in, Micah. Finally, somebody.
Well, if it's going to be over the cliff thing, I'll make sure to do that Spartan kick over the cliff.
300. Here's all.
We'll have to do some kind of comical gift thingy or something like that, where you kind of do that. Kick, and you got like Lex.
The straight kick.
I'll even model a face for you. It'll be something goofy like.
But yeah, I mean, am I sad that Lex is going? Yes, I am. But Lex has already told me as well that it won't be, forever, and it won't be like he won't come back, every now and then to sit down on his show.
I'll still be a guest every now and then.
He's still part of the VOT. He's still going to be working hard behind the scenes with us.
I'm still the VOT project manager, so...
Exactly.
Yay.
So, nothing's changed there. It's just that he can't commit to the show in the capacity he's doing now. So, but Micah's stepped up and taken a lot on, which I'm happy for. So, welcome, Micah.
and really, I don't think I mean... Don't get me wrong, I did have fallback options if Micah said no and I asked him to take my spot. But I have absolutely no worries whatsoever that Micah's here. If it was anyone else, I'd be like, oh, God, what have I done?
But then we have Booch as well, who we reached out to help us, come on as a unfrequent guest because of the time schedule he's got, but we will definitely be planning to do a player Q&A with Booch. We will be sitting down, I think, right after we go off air to work out the details on when we could possibly do this. So look forward to that coming up soon.
And if you want to get to know Micah a little better, go check out our show where we interviewed him.
Yeah, and go check out his YouTube channel.
And his YouTube channel. And his Twitter.
The YouTube channel's been a little bit slow lately, but I got a lot of stuff I have already doing for it. So
Micah's got a green thumb as well.
Well, I hate to admit it, but I watched his last video on not all of them, but quite a few of his house plans, and I actually learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit that.
Is that a fig tree behind you, Micah?
No, that's real.
It looks like a fig.
Oh no, it's a money tree.
I thought it was a fig tree. A money tree. I want to get one.
He goes to bed and it's like,
make it rain.
Yeah, it's a Patera aquatica. You can find them quite often. They're usually called Chinese money trees.
It's nice.
So, Yeah, I have lots and lots of plants.
Yeah,
Mike,
you should go and actually no. Let me go and quickly screw this. I'm doing this right now.
I'm gonna say someone needs to plug Micah's YouTube channel and his Twitter in chat.
Well, let me go and open up real quick. I mean, you guys, if you haven't seen that video, you need to see it. I mean, go plug it. And, I mean, when I saw him standing there, let's go and have a look at this. So Micah does stuff, right? There we go. So...
Uh-oh, I don't know what he's pulling up here.
As long as you're not singing in a Speedo in the streets, I'm good.
That's there. Nuts,
look at the enthusiasm. Hey, those plants look really healthy. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my plant show. Because I usually talk about video game stuff, and I sometimes talk about lore. Sometimes I'll talk about game design and everything. And then I have this new little segment where I'm going to be talking about things that I enjoy that are not game related, and I calling it after the loot drops.
And what you don't see on the camera is to the left and to the right of him are where the cannabis plants are standing.
those are the ones I need to grow.
So you've actually found this is something that not a lot of people take it cross marketing. You're a gamer who has a YouTube channel who talks about games and everything, and then all of a sudden, you start talking about houseplants. Now that's genius. That's genius cross marketing, cross sales, man. Awesome stuff. But yeah, you should watch that video. I could not believe that I spent 14 minutes watching that video, and I was like interested and listening to Micah talk about these plants.
I know. My philosophy is usually if I can't eat it, I don't watch it. Say plants.
Because I hate gardening and I hate plants. I'll be the first to admit it.
So I'm going to plug this here because, like I said, this is my new thing I'm doing after the loot drops. It's like where I talk about non-game related stuff. I do have one coming up about tattoos as well.
Hey, I got a tattoo.
Because I'm related to a tattoo artist, and I'm going to get a bunch of insider info on that. But yeah, I also got like all the game stuff and everything. So yeah,
I got one or two as well.
I got to get another one here on this arm for my daughter. I'm still trying to think of the right devil image to kind of.
Is it gonna say should I touch it?
Yeah, Oldwood.
That is classic.
Oh, Cohh. Anyway, guys, this was the Voice of Terminus show, 179. Oh my word! We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you all next week. I do not know what next week's topic might be. We could end up doing a game night. We don't know yet. It all depends on what we find to talk about, because we've literally, ravaged through everything there possibly is to talk about at this stage, but we shall see. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See y'all.
Have a great weekend.